intimidating. You can psych yourself out if you sit down and you're like, oh, I'm playing against Tord Reklev, I'm playing against, Stefan Ivanov, I'm playing against, Robin Schultz, any of these like great players that you heard of. It can be very easy to be like, oh, well, this person's the greatest. Like, there's no way I have a chance of beating them. But really, you're both just sitting down, playing the Pokemon TCG, and you should be playing your game. You practiced, you've gotten here. It's just another game. Yes, it's against a very good opponent, but everybody's got a shot in the Pokemon TCG. It's not like you're never going to beat Tord Reklev. So try not to let that psych you out as well.
Absolutely. The thing I've always thought about is that at some point Tord Reklev wasn't Tord Reklev, right? At some point Tord was a player who was going to, his first regional, his first international, was playing against better players or players that were more experienced or more well known and feeling intimidated as well. And just again, everyone has a chance. Everyone starts somewhere. And here in round 5, we're going to start Tord versus Parker. Tord, of course, is playing that Rapid Strike Urshifu deck, and we're also seeing Parker play Arceus V-Star, kind of with the I guess like the dark package of techs, the Crobat V Max, the Hoopa V, as you talked about earlier. Do you have any kind of read on just like on paper how this matchup should go?
It's always hard to tell with these matchups. There's so many different variables, and one thing that I don't think is talked about enough with this Urshifu deck is how much your prize cards actually matter. We've seen players like Tord use Peonia, which honestly is a very slow card. It feels like a very inefficient way, but because you're playing so many single cards that are so impactful, sometimes you just need like, all right, I need this specific card out of my prizes to win this matchup, and it's a really bizarre phenomenon. I've seen players start to cut it from their list because it just feels like you can rarely afford to just play a card to look at 3 of your prize cards. It just feels super inefficient. But yeah, obviously, same stuff that always applies. Who goes first can play a big role. On Parker's side, things like Dunsparce can be very important, if that's in the prize cards as well. But honestly, these can go either way. We'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, definitely looks like both players are getting set up here. We will take a look at these very important prize cards momentarily. So go ahead. We see a Crushing Hammer. Ooh. So nothing backbreaking, I think, from either player here. Just kind of a more or less a standard set of prize cards.
I think so, yeah. Nothing too devastating. But yeah, we'll get this kicked off in a second. One thing I did want to mention, Tord actually did post something recently. He went 0-3 at a tournament. He's like, this is the first time this has happened to me in my life. And you can see he's immediately rebounded, starting 4-0 against a player who attaches a double turbo energy to a Pumpkaboo and passes.
And passes the turn back. Wow.
Poor
so
Parker.
Again, you get the Tord pairing, you're going to be on stream, you start Pumpkaboo, and then your only play is the attach pass. We see Tord with the Galarian Moltres here, just one kind of piece to the puzzle of this Urshifu deck. And then, of course, we see the Metacham as well hitting the bench.
I don't know if Tord's hand is much better. This doesn't look great. This is one of those situations where it's really frustrating because it's like, oh, my opponent started with a Pumpkaboo and passed. Like, I should be able to win this turn. Like, I should just be able to knock out a Pumpkaboo and win the game. Then you look at your hand and you're just like, how can I not knock this out? It's like, I should be able to have like Hoopa and switch into it and just knock out and win this very easy game. But then you look at your hand and like, all I can do is attach to a Metacham V and pass. Oh!
The quick ball top deck.
And there you go. It all turns around. So it feels like your window of opportunity is shut just like that.
Yeah, if you're a Tord there, this is never what you want to see. We start towards turn, and then we just see kind of a little bit of a shuffling of the hand there, play the Metacham, and then attach to it, and that just tells you there's not really a whole lot going on. And now this game is just entirely different there. We have the quick ball Arceus V, the attachment to it. It's just this absolutely plays out entirely differently than you thought, and you just cannot get that free win.
Okay, we'll see what Tord draws. Just
looks like scoop up net.
Oh. So he does have an option to get a knockout here, but this is not pretty. This is you take a desperation prize card, and Yikes.
Yeah, it looks like that's what he's going to do. He scoop up nets the Galarian Moltres. And just the one single basic darkness goes to the Metacham.
Yeah, and this is a situation where Tord does have the Moltres in hand. You even debate, should I put this down? It's like, obviously, like I don't want to do that, but I can just get knocked out by an Arceus V-Star next turn. But almost in the back of your mind is like, do I just lose anyway? Is it even worth? Should I just gamble that like they're not going to knock me out? But I don't know. It's a tough one. You can potentially still come back. But yikes. It's going to be a rough road ahead.
One of those situations where you just have to ask yourself, okay, even if I do play this Galarian Moltres, where am I actually going to be at if I get knocked out? How much better than just losing the game is that outright? As we do see that Arceus V-Star hit the board, we're going to see, I think it was a Professor's Research, and now we're just seeing the Starboard. Didn't see the energy needed off the Research, so that's what Starboard's here for. You know, going to find whatever two pieces you need, just face up Choice Belt. To take a knockout here, and you know, if you're Parker, just hoping you can start loading up a secondary Pokemon as well. Looks like the Belt and the Double Turbo were the stars off Starbirth. Probably the two most common cards found off Starbirth.
Yep, and
most lists.
That does conveniently add up to exactly enough to knock out Metacham V. Oh, got the Dunsparce as well.
Wow.
That'll cut off some potential Rapid Strike Urshifu V Raihan plays that Tord could have responded with. So yeah, right off the bat, Parker jumps out to a pretty big lead in this game after starting with Pumpkaboo passing the first turn. Tord's hand somehow is worse, and Parker is far ahead in this game now.
All right, and this is kind of the moment of truth for Tord here. Quick shooting and telling on Oranguru was taken off the prizes. So again, you're in a situation where you kind of get a redraw here, and you get another basic.
I was thinking, what one card could you even find off of this? That's not it.
Choice Belt's not going to do it. You can see Tord's body language. Yep, he decides to concede. So scoop him up. So, you know, you said it earlier, you know, whoever goes first can matter. The opening hands can matter. And it turns out the opening hands mattered a lot here as both players had suboptimal starts. But Parker was able to kind of just put pressure on immediately. And I think that goes to show just how powerful something like Arceus can be, where all you really, because of Starbirth, all you really need is to just find the V, and that unlocks so much for you, or the V-Star rather, and that unlocks so much for you.
Yep. Starbirth, excellent V-Star power for sure. Just getting to search for any two cards. You know, Computer Search was an A-Spec card that was played in so many decks for how long, and it was just like, whenever you had a Computer Search in your hand, you felt like nothing could go wrong. It's like, at least I can search for one card to get me out of this. And Starbirth is any two cards. It's like, whenever you just get Arceus V-Star out, like, something good is going to happen.
Absolutely. And so I think, I mean, you're just gonna have opening hands like that. And that's, you know, like you're saying, you know, it's anyone can win game of Pokemon. Things can go so many different ways, and you know, Tord was coming off that 0-3 for the first time. Now sitting here at 4-0, but just, you know, basically, I mean, I guess made 5 decisions that turn. You know, or that game. Play some Pokemon, play a scoop up net, but didn't really get a chance to play. Shuffling up for game 2 here, and kind of, you know, 44 minutes left, so it's almost like we're just kind of starting fresh here, except Tord needs to win 2 in a row.
Yep, but I mean, it's a situation everybody's been in, right? You lose a quick game, that's why it's best 2 out of 3. As you can see, Tord does have his signature Celebi plushie cheering him on, and we'll see if Tord can make a comeback here in game number 2, or if Parker's going to take a decisive victory. Hopefully, we at least get a better game than the first one.
Definitely. Looks like players are drawing their opening hands. Take a look at the prizes momentarily. And, you know, as much as it's going to be intimidating to play against Tord, it's got to feel equally as good to get the match off Tord, or at least get the first game off Tord. That's what it comes down here to. Take a look at the prizes. That Rapid Strike Urshifu V loves being in the prizes for Tord. 2 Marnie for Parker.
Yeah, the Rem raid also a big one. Tord plays 1/1 Octillery a lot, and not having access to that could make things a little trickier for him. And you actually see here Tord opted to go second. So in between games, Parker was asking, you want to go first or second? And Tord, I think, thought about it for a second, and he said, I'll go second. Parker's like, oh, Nice. But the reason for that is exactly what Tord started with. You can use Keep Calling with Sobble on the first turn and really get things going. And really, this deck is mainly about getting as many Sobble as you can into play so that you can evolve to Drizzile and Inteleon and use those shady dealing abilities and search for the exact trainer cards you need and start piecing together a bunch of combos.
Yeah, you tend to see, it doesn't happen all the time and not in every matchup certainly, but you will tend to see decks that can keep calling for their attackers will kind of sometimes take the going second line here, as we see that both players do have definitely better starts than in game one here. That Arceus V hit the bench. We're seeing Tord start with the Sonya after the Sobble, so looks like we'll settle in for a real game here.
Yep, and things do get tricky when you're playing against this Dunsparce. Has the ability that all colorless Pokemon in play have no weakness, so it really neutralizes a lot of the fighting type advantage that the Urshifu deck has. So when you're faced with this situation, this is where that Medicham V comes into play. At some point, you'll probably see a quick shooting Inteleon, drop some damage counters in the Dunsparce, and then a Yoga Loop from the Medicham V. So you can set up kind of this 1-2 punch where you get the one prize knockout, get an extra turn, and then you have that window where the Arceus is no longer weak, or is now weak to fighting, and you can capitalize with your Rapid Strike Urshifu.
Looks like we are going to see the Rapid Strike Urshifu hit the bench, and then we're going to see a Keep Calling here. Like you said earlier, exactly what Tord wants to do.
We're going to see the triple Sobble.
Yeah, it looks like we are. 3 Sobbles at least pulled to the front immediately. And they're going to be slammed right onto the bench. So we see all the Sobbles in the deck in play at the moment.
Yep. Now, this is a situation where the game can swing around quite a bit. This is an opportunity for Parker to string together something like if you can have Choice Belt, Boss's Orders, Arceus V-Star, and then a Galarian Zigzagoon to ping 10 damage on the Rapid Strike Urshifu V. You can knock that out before it gets a chance to evolve into the VMAX. And it's a huge swing in the game. It takes a lot of cards, especially just on the second turn. But with Starbirth and having all this stuff in hand already, could be seeing a huge turn 2 from Parker.
Yeah, looks like he had the Choice Belt in hand, but he's at the V-Star, of course, Starbirth now. So this could be kind of the turn you were talking about. I think that was the boss's orders.
Yeah, do we see the Zigzagoon as well? That does all add up to exactly 220 damage. But we may just see a Hoopa V instead. And this is another card that's been added in as kind of a dual threat. It's got an ability that allows it to be 2 different types. So Darkness and Psychic. So it's good against both the Mew VMAX decks and the Rapid Strike Urshifu decks. And this is another big card in the matchup. So it doesn't look like we'll see the boss's orders here, but still, I mean, turn 2 Trinity Nova's not bad.
Yeah, you can't complain too much about that as we do see the Hoopa hit the board. Here's the Professor's Research. Thought that was a boss's orders, but must have missing there. 7 fresh cards for Parker. And I mean, besides the the play of getting the Urshifu knockout here, you can't really ask for much more, right? I think this is one of the powers of kind of the Arceus deck is just, well, once I have the V-Star in play, I can just kind of start Trinity Novaing as early as turn 2 and just kind of keep things going. We see another tech here in Manaphy.
That's right. We got the double techs against Urshifu, Dunsparce and Manaphy.
Parker came very prepared.
Makes it really hard to do anything that you want to do with Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, right? You want to Gmax Rapid Flow, hit 2 different Pokemon at the same time, Manaphy blocks that. You want to hit Arceus for weakness, Dunsparce blocks that. And it's really just removing a lot of the advantages that Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX has.
Yeah, definitely. We use that turn 2 Trinity Nova. Going to go ahead and power up 2 energy onto the Hoopa V, take the knockout, and again, kind of just the spot that Parker more or less wants to be in here. He's got the Tex versus Tord's deck. He's got the Arceus attacking. He's got the secondary attacker getting built up here. Now it's all on Tord to kind of build a response.
Yeah, this is a really awkward spot as the Rapid Strike Urshifu player. It's one where you kind of question, is it even worth evolving to the VMAX? You really won't be able to knock out a Pokemon V this turn. The best you'll be able to do is get a one prize knockout with it, or like just do some damage against a V. And with the Hoopa V sitting there already, you know it's going to get knocked out immediately. So it's a 3 prize liability to put Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX in play. But it's also at the same time, it's like, this is what my deck is supposed to do.
Right.
So are you going to go for that? If not, what's even your plan this turn? I think you would maybe have to go for something like Hoopa or some kind of smaller attacker to try to target down either the Dunsparce or the Manaphy with the boss's orders to try to get some sort of relevant attack off this turn. Otherwise, like, what are you even doing?
Yeah, it's a really, really tough spot to be in here, but if there's anyone that can navigate it, it's going to be toward Reklev as we see the first shady dealings of the match here. And I think this sort of thing, you know, we talked a lot about the Rapid Strike Urshifu deck being kind of difficult to play, playing a lot of one-ofs, the list kind of changing depending on how you want to build it. And I think that this really just shows the power of shady dealings, and also I think from the players that have chosen to play it, shows the kind of the confidence, you know, that Tord just knows, I want to leverage kind of my skill advantage versus the field here in Vancouver. You know, again, I'm just, you know, one of the best, if not the best player in the world, and I think that, you know, if I have access to shady dealings, I can just make better decisions over and over and over again, enough that it kind of just raises my win percentage, you know, point by point until, you know, just gives me a huge edge and a huge advantage to win the tournament.
Yeah, so if I'm Tord here and can't get some kind of relevant attack off, the main thing I'm looking to do is evolve all of my Sobble. Because if you're not going to do anything this turn, you need to make sure that you're able to get the quick shooting Inteleon out next turn and try to set up towards that Yoga Loop play. I saw Tord eyeing up the Snorlax earlier. So he may have already kind of resigned to the fact that, okay, I'm just going to promote Snorlax and use Gourmandize. And if that's the strategy, you pretty much have to just evolve up all your Sobble into Drizzile and prepare for the next turn.
It looks like that might be what's happening here. See the energy search off that second shady dealings. Quick ball going to go ahead and get rid of the fighting energy.
So yeah, we may, just going to see the Hoopa. There it is. Okay. So Hoopa is in the deck, and with the Scoop Up Net in hand, I'm going to guess we're going to see another shady dealings for a boss's
Good
orders.
guess, Kyle.
And then the question becomes, do you go for Dunsparce, or do you go for Manaphy, or do you go for Hoopa? This softens up the Hoopa V a bit so that you can finish it off with an attack on the next turn. And then maybe you think, oh, okay, Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX is probably off the table for this game, unless it's for a game-winning attack at some point. So maybe take a different strategy where you're taking a 2-hit knockout on the Hoopa, and then maybe you can go after the Dunsparce, and then, I don't know, try to formulate some kind of plan where you get to 6 prizes before your opponent does.
Yeah, kind of leveraging either single prize attackers like in the Hoopa, or kind of like you were saying with setting up some kind of quick shooting Yoga Loop kind of things where you're, you know, getting that extra turn there. Just kind of manipulate how many turns your opponent gets to play, how many prizes they can possibly take. We do see that Assault Gate here, softening up that Hoopa V.
Yeah, and one thing kind of glossed over, but there was actually a huge draw off the Primate Wisdom for Tord in the last turn. I think he was planning to go for the Snorlax, just Gourmandize, slow setup play, but actually got another Drizzile off of the Primate Wisdom, which completely changed his course for the turn. If you know, he went for this play before, he would have been left with no options for the next turn, but because he drew that Drizzile, he left himself with the level ball for next turn to shady dealings. So great example of, you know, how if things change a little bit, you can completely alter your course for the turn.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, definitely also, I think, kind of evidence to, you know, that proper sequencing and just how little decisions like that can really matter, and just kind of also, I think something to be said for, you know, just keep not getting too kind of, not having blinders on about certain plays and not getting too focused on just what you want to do, and knowing that things can change with just even small decisions.
All right, and we did see Luminous Sign from Luminion V grabbing the boss's orders and going after that Rapid Strike Urshifu V. So thanks to that two-faced ability from Hoopa V, we are going to see Shadow Impact, Knockout, and Parker is now at a 3-prize advantage. It's going to be up to Tord to try to find a way back into this game. This is where you can start to see things like the Galarian Moltres and try to start a comeback with these kind of single-prize Pokemon, and then maybe at some point weave in a Yoga Loop somewhere and steal back a turn. But this is the point where there's really no room for error. You have to be executing your plan every single turn because you know your opponent already has attackers powered up. You know you're going to get hit the next couple turns. It's just how can you win before your opponent does?
Absolutely. I mean, you can just take a look at the board states here and just, two big beefy V attackers, the techs on Parker's side. And obviously the Rapid Strike Urshifu deck can make, a lot of plays. The Drizziles are, kind of seemingly innocuous, but obviously do huge things. You have, Raihan plays and such. You have all those different single prize attackers. But definitely just if you just, were to be teleported and just look at the board state, you go, oh, geez, I think Tord's going to have to do a lot to take this one down. And it looks like that's what we're going to try to put together here. Evolution Incense for the Inteleon. Opens up a world of options to him now.
And we'll see what Tord has. This is one of those spots where you don't have a lot of resources in your hand, so you have to use everyone kind of perfectly. We're just going to see Scoop Up Net. Picking up the Inteleon. It looks like he's setting up Hoopa again. So this is a spot where you may be able to get a Choice Belt and hit a little bit harder this turn and set up for a knockout, maybe with a quick shooting later, and kind of go from there. So yeah, at this point in the game, I do think Tord's at a point where he cannot put down any more multi-prize Pokemon. No more Pokemon B. It's got to be single-prize Pokemon unless you're getting the last knockout or doing something like a Yoga Loop to close out the game. And it's just, will he be able to piece together the resources to do things like attack with Galarian Moltres, pick up big knockouts here and there?
Right, and we're going to see kind of the well-thought-out kind of specific turn here from Tord. We see that second Shady Dealings, getting that Choice Belt, as you said, just kind of boosting that damage a bit, as well as the Scoop Up Net, because I could even see kind of the third Shady Dealings here, some more tricks with the Scoop Up Net. Yeah, Tord's back is absolutely against the wall here, not a lot of wiggle room, just as you said, needs to play things exactly perfectly and needs a very specific narrow path to go down in order to clinch the victory here.
All right, we see Clara gonna get back 2 Pokemon and 2 basic energy cards. Preparing for a future turn, probably getting a Sobble back down. Can't imagine Rapid Strike Urshifu will be going down on the bench. Or maybe I'm just completely wrong.
Tord knows something we don't clearly, as he slams the Urshifu onto the bench.
Yep. Right.
And prepares for the future turns. And this is exactly what we were talking about with the Rapid Strike Urshifu deck. Just there's so many moving parts. There's so many ways to kind of take knockouts out of nowhere, kind of gain an advantage. And Tord is just saying, I think if I'm going to win this game, it's going to involve this Urshifu being on the bench.
Sure seems like it. And I guess at this point, you can just sit and say, look, my opponent's already played Boss's Orders. What are the odds that they have another one? I don't know. Maybe at this point, you just have to take risks if you're a little bit behind and say, you know what, I feel like eventually a G-Max Rapid Flow is in the game plan to win this one. So may as well just do it now. It's not going to get any better.
Right, you do see that happen occasionally, where it's just the further behind you are, in some ways, risks can be more acceptable because you're so close to losing anyway. You just have to hope your opponent doesn't have whatever it is you're trying to play around.
All right, we do see Primate Wisdom, but no Boss's Orders, so that Rapid Strike Urshifu V is going to be safe.
And we just see the Marnie this turn, some kind of disruption of the hand, a refresh for Parker.
Yeah, this is huge because this Hoopa V is the only way that Parker has to knock out a Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX in one attack. So this was really the window for him to do but what? A Crushing Hammer.
Crushing Hammer. Crushing Hammer is going to go ahead and take care of the fighting on the Urshifu.
Well, that probably wasn't in the equation for Tord.
No, I don't think so. Crushing Hammer, one of the one of the most kind of loved and hated cards in the format, depending on which side of it you're on, I would say.
That is for sure. So yeah, now just going to see a retreat. This makes sense. Why give your opponent an easy target here? It is a little interesting because you may just want to force your opponent to have a way to deal with it because it's a lot of damage and it's a way to kind of get picked off later by a yoga loop or by a quick shooting. And by just leaving it active, you know, if your opponent doesn't have a way to deal with it this turn, it can present an awkward scenario where if they can only attack the active, then those 2 free prizes are gone for later. But I could see it go either way.
Yeah, just kind of hoping that your opponent can't take advantage of all the damage on the board. Kind of interesting decision to make either way. We pass back to Tord, who the situation has not gotten better for him. You know, he still has another prize deficit now, 2 remaining to 6. Does not have that energy on the Urshifu anymore, and just kind of again is just, you know, very behind and has to put something together. And it looks like the plan's going to start with a level ball.
Yep, always a welcome sight. Lets you grab Drizzile, Shady Dealings, and go from there. Of course, at the very least, it guarantees you're going to get 2 more trainer cards off Shady Dealings. The interesting thing at this point is that Hoopa V is now still a threat. If Tord has to go with the Shady Dealings in Teleon, he won't have access to quick shooting this turn.
Right.
Which means that potentially the Hoopa V sticks around, and that's a threat to the Rapid Strike Urshifu V, and I mean, that would be it. Parker only needs 2 more prize cards to win. So I think #1 priority for Tord might be dealing with the Hoopa V. We could see a Yoga Loop, but even that gets awkward because then it's just boss's orders on that. The Arceus V-Star already has the Choice Belt, so Parker has presented Tord with a really awkward situation, and we'll see how he's able to deal with it.
Looks like that level ball does find the Drizzile. Shady Dealings finds the Cynthia's Ambition. Makes a lot of sense. Gonna see 8 cards.
Yep, one of his Pokemon was knocked out during the opponent's last turn, so can draw till he has 8 cards in hand. So it looks like it's just going to be drawn 4 unless he doesn't want to play it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe a situation where you want to use Pal Pad ahead of time.
Yeah, you can choose to play the Pal Pad. You know, you can attach an energy even if you're really if you're really committed to what you want to do. You know, a lot of things you can do to empty the hand out, and it's awkward with that. You know, Tord does have the Shady Dealings in Teleon, but again, as you said, the quick shooting is just so important this turn. Does find it.
Speaking of that,
off the Cynthia's Ambition, chooses to not play any cards, just take a minute to think, and just he does find it there. So now he's cut off from Shady Dealings in Teleon this turn, but has that quick shooting for the rest of the game, and importantly this turn to take the knockout on the Hoopa.
Yep, and these will be 2 important prize cards because I don't think Tord drew everything he needed off the Cynthia's Ambition. I don't know if there's a way to actually move the Inteleon out of the active spot. He does not have another Scoop Up Net, didn't find another Drizzile or Level Ball. And if that's the case, this is going to be another really awkward turn.
Yeah, I think that is the case. He took an Energy Search and an Urshifu V off the prizes. You know, has a couple of cards that he can play, but I don't know if there's anything that really lets him pivot this Inteleon out.
Okay, yep, they've still got the Primate Wisdom to use.
Artillery down.
Gotta be something good.
Basic Darkness Energy. Not what he was hoping for there.
Whew. So yeah, now this gets really, really challenging. I can't imagine you're leaving the Inteleon active because quick shooting has to be part of your game plan. Yeah, he's just going to send up the Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. And this is something you can lean into. Tord does have Cheryl in the deck list, so you can potentially take a hit and then heal off the damage with Cheryl. And that's a way you can kind of steal back a turn, but you know, this was an unfortunate turn of events for Tord. I can't remember if Cheryl was prized in this game, but
no, I believe he has access to the Cheryl. But it's awkward because then that's like your supporter for the turn, and kind of where do you go from there? You do have that
Right.
Inteleon. You're kind of setting up this VMAX, and just, I mean, there's no other multi-prize Pokemon. You know, it's just this 3-prizer here, so it's, you know, pretty hard to knock out, but it's not, it just has not been a great place for Tord to be this whole entire game, this whole entire match, really.
Yeah, just awkward draw after awkward draw, and you know this may be a situation where Tord's actually very happy to see a Marnie.
Yeah.
Most of those cards in hand were not very helpful, and this could give him new life. If you're Parker, you look at your opponent, they have 7 cards in hand. You're like, yeah, of course, just get rid of those. So can't blame that decision at all. And I think Parker's just going to do the only thing that you can do, just keep using Trinity Nova and hope it's good enough.
And we do see that Trinity Nova looks like it's going to attach just 1 energy to the Arceus V, just hit the bench with a double turbo as well, so that can potentially turn into a V-Star for next turn if need be. 210 damage on that active Urshifu VMAX. And let's see what these 5 cards off of the Marnie and draw for the turn brought toward.
There's an Avery, not going to be very helpful here.
Level Ball, Sonia.
You can see a lot of these tech supporters really clumping up and just not drawing the right ones at the right time. Can Shady Dealings for 1 trainer card. But like you said, if you just Cheryl and that's the only thing you do for the turn, that doesn't seem like a great way to go about things either. Maybe another one of those times where you Shady Dealings for an Evolution Incense, for an Inteleon, so you can Shady Dealings for 2 cards.
It's just awkward because it's just, what are those 2 cards that kind of get you out of this here? I mean, I guess it almost just has to be Cheryl something else. So maybe you have to, like, I don't know, maybe you Cheryl attach and just hope that's good enough for the next turn.
Yeah, I don't think that's good enough, though. I think you do have Shady Dealings. You can Level Ball for Drizzile, use Primate Wisdom. Hopefully your draw off that goes well, and then go from there.
Yeah, that is true. You do kind of get the extra draw there, and it looks like what you predicted is happening with the Evolution, Shady Dealings with the Evolution Incense. Now just kind of getting an extra card, so to speak here.
Ooh, see Bird Keeper and the Cheryl as the 2 choices.
Well, Bird Keeper is a way to move the Urshifu out of the way and draw some extra cards, just kind of get some more material in your hand.
Yep.
I mean, that play loses to boss's orders, of course. I mean, there's lots of kind of tough spots for Tord to be in either way. Lots of ways it goes wrong, kind of no matter what he chooses. And, probably honestly only really a really specific combination of things occurring that it goes right. So let's see if he can put it together here.
Yeah, at this point, we do see the Cheryl healing off all the damage. And at this point, you kind of have to have a game plan where, you have to bank on your opponent just not finding boss's orders.
Right.
And you should just play towards that happening, because that's probably your only way of winning at this point. Okay. And we actually see the Shady Dealings and Inteleon get a water energy, so we can see an Aqua Bullet on the next turn. Probably going to set up this Dunsparce to get knocked out eventually, but unfortunately the bench damage from the Aqua Bullet is blocked by Manaphy. So all sorts of stuff being blocked here.
Yeah, not an easy spot for Tord to be in, but I think that might be it for the turn here. Yeah, just he heals up that Cheryl, passes the turn back.
Okay, we are going to see Primate Wisdom. Oh, we got a Crushing
Another
Hammer.
Crushing Hammer.
Oh,
and
again.
another Heads.
Devastating. That actually is devastating. Oh, and going to pick up the Dunsparce. Heal off the damage from the quick shooting.
Oh, wow. Just completely protecting the Dunsparce there. And giving access to an air balloon if that's ever going to come up.
Dunsparce going back down.
Primate Wisdom.
Parker saying, no, I will not get Yoga Loop today.
Trinity Nova for 210.
Which I respect.
Yes, and does
not feel good to have your opponent take an extra turn.
We're basically right back where we started with 210 on the Urshifu VMAX. That Dunsparce is fully healed up.
Yeah, between the Crushing Hammer and the Sharon's Carrot, yeah, that just reset towards turn essentially.
Yeah, might proved to be too much.
This is a very difficult spot to navigate out of. This could be a situation where if he had the Tower of Waters, that could be some way to move this Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX without having to play a supporter card. It just feels like if you play Bird Keeper, you're not going to get a good attack off because of that Crushing Hammer. If you had the energy on the Inteleon still, you could Aqua Bullet and at least do something.
Right.
But now it's probably just going to be a Bird Keeper and who knows, quick shooting and pass and hope for the best.
Yeah, just a lot of having to just kind of sit back and hope for Tord here. Just kind of, make these agonizing, like, tough decisions that, really only matter if your opponent doesn't have the boss orders, your opponent doesn't do this or do that. Just turn after turn. And just kind of hanging on by a thin thread here is Tord Reklev. We do see the Bird Keeper play, so that Urshifu VMAX is back on the bench, and that Inteleon that cannot attack is in the active spot.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what is the plan at this point. Tord did leave the Pal Pad in deck, so there is an opportunity to Pal Pad the Cheryl back in at some point. So maybe that's on his mind. I think, honestly, it's just a lack of resources at this point. Just the Marnies from Parker really limited what Tord was able to do in this game. And, a lot of his Sobble have evolved all the way up into Inteleon. There's not much option for shady dealings at this point. So he hasn't drawn into the right things manually and hasn't been able to search for enough things. So it would be great to piece together all these combos, but just hasn't been able to do it.
I mean, every turn we've just said how it, Tord could do this, but he also needs this kind of extra piece of something. And usually you will find those, extra pieces, so to speak, with the shady dealings. Just the level ball turns into a shady dealings, turns into whatever you need. But again, like you said, he had to commit the quick shooting turns ago to kind of finish off the Hoopa, and now that other Inteleon was supposed to be attacking this turn, didn't quite work out. So it's just so limited in what he can do, and just we do see the Metacham come down now, so maybe that's part of the plan eventually.
Yeah, it's funny. I think Tord had the Rapid Strike energy in hand and debated playing it because my opponent's already played 2 Crushing Hammers. Not about to get hit by that again. And you can see Parker actually did draw
have the third
a Crushing Hammer, so perhaps was just waiting to commit the energy, perhaps was just like, you know what, if my opponent plays Crushing Hammer, this could be devastating if I lose yet another energy, but either way, that worked out. And I have to wonder at this point, is Parker just out of boss's orders? We've gone several turns now, several draw supporters, and just has not seemed to have found a boss's orders. This deck list is not playing shady dealings, that kind of engine. We saw the Luminion V already get used, but with this kind of raw draw engine, sometimes you're not able to search for specific cards, and there's a chance that boss's orders is just stuck in the deck somewhere, or could just be out.
Yeah, trying to take a look while Parker is searching.
I think there's one in there.
Okay, there's one just buried deep there, and now. You can hear, I don't know if you can pick that up on the on the stream, you can hear the planes overhead. We are kind of just sitting on the water here in Vancouver. Beautiful area, but noise pollution is very real. Just one prize remaining now for Parker. So now if there wasn't enough pressure before, things are on. It's like, okay, all I need to do is just knock out a Pokemon on your side of the field.
Ooh, I think a big draw for Tord. Gets the Raihan. So this is interesting spot. I think obviously this turn is going to end with a Yoga Loop, and Tord will get another turn after that. What I think he has to try to play for is getting the Pal Pad to shuffle the Cheryl back into the deck so that he can get Cheryl back and heal up the Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. You can knock out the Dunsparce and then get the knockout with Gale Thrust with Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. I think that kind of has to be the play at this point. The other thing, I don't think there's a choice band available. Could have attacked with Metacham V with a choice band or choice belt. with another quick shooting. That gets you there to knock out Arceus V-Star, but you're going to have one good turn here. It's just, can you get the next good turn?
Definitely, we do see this energy being committed to the Metacham V now.
This is why you see why, you know, a lot of players shy away from this deck. There's so much precision involved. There's so many decisions that need to be made, as we do see the scoop up net. But, you know, just one mistake over the course of this long game with limited resources that you have can be the difference between a win and a loss.
Absolutely. So scoop up net, the Sobble hit the bench, look like towards considering playing back down the quick shooting. Inteleon.
Yeah, I think that depends on whether he has a Shady Dealings and Inteleon left. If not, may as well just evolve. All right, another quick shooting. We'll see where this one goes. Now remember, you cannot use Yoga Loop in consecutive turns.
Of course.
So even though he could be setting up Manaphy for a future Yoga Loop here, you can't Yoga Loop, take an extra turn, and then Yoga Loop again. So maybe just trying to figure out a scenario where, you know, you Yoga Loop the Dunsparce, maybe you don't get a knockout on the next turn, but then after that, it looks like grabs the Rapid Strike energy from the prize cards.
I think that was the prize card he didn't know about.
Yep. And this is kind of the last turn here for Tord to do something magical. Will he find it off this Primate Wisdom? Doubt that's the card he wanted.
If there's anyone who can do it, it's Tord here. You see I think that's the last Shady Dealings kind of available at all this game. Don't know the scoop up net count. What's left?
Okay, there is a Rapid Strike Urshifu V in deck now. So with the Raihan, you can Quick Ball for that. Raihan, you attach the Rapid Strike energy, and you can, is it 100 Furious Blows to knock out Arceus V-Star. And with the Choice Belt down and the Hoopa V down, it seems actually pretty difficult for Parker to get a knockout unless we see that final boss's order. So is Tord gonna craft this miracle comeback here?
I mean, like we said, if there is anyone that can do it, it's going to be Tord. This is the kind of situation, I mean, you know, Tord would have loved for things to go a little bit more smoothly in this match and, you know, not have to use much brain power and just kind of crush his opponents and move to the next round. But, you know, this is part of the greatness, I mean, the greatness of Tord and the greatness of this deck is that you have so many different options and you have to be well versed with it. And I mean, Tord's been behind 4 prizes this entire game, and now he's, you know, really putting his opponent to the test here.
I think this goes all the way back to when Tord played Clara and got back a Rapid Strike Urshifu V that had been knocked out. Every resource being used here, and we will see the knockout from the Rapid Strike Urshifu V. Parker will have an opportunity to win, but you can see the win on Tord's side looming. There's damage on Manaphy. Whew, this is a close one.
This is a very close one. All right, let's see. We do have, does that Arceus have another energy on it, or is it just the double turbo? Can't quite tell.
Hard to tell. Looks like just the double turbo, but this is probably a time where we're going to see Crobat V start to come into play.
Yep.
Dark Asset. I think Parker realizes, oh, I'm in danger now. I thought I had this game wrapped up, and then all of a sudden it's like, I need to find a boss's orders. Otherwise, I think I lose. How did this happen?
Yeah. This is slowly, I saw my advantage just start to shift. Okay, Pumpkaboo Tower watered down, Crushing Hammer.
Oh, third heads.
Another heads.
See the Fan of Waves as well. Oof.
The double Fan of Waves?
Oh my goodness.
No more energy?
The tower also got bumped.
The tower's gone.
This is devastating. Do we see... Well, we don't even see another Arceus V-Star, first of all. It looks like there is one in hand for Parker. So we'll finally see that other Arceus V evolve. But geez, all the massive amount of disruption there may have been just enough to swing this back in Parker's favor if he doesn't find Boss's Orders. Maybe still favored in this game. But yeah, the question is there actually a third energy to attack with Arceus V-Star?
Arceus, big parasol.
See a big parasol. Don't know if that'll do a whole lot.
It must have a energy on it. We just couldn't see you.
Trinity Nova for 180.
Yep.
All right.
All right. The other question here is, does Tord have a scoop-up net left? You can quick shooting the Manaphy, and then it'll be at 10 HP. If he gets a scoop-up net, he can bring the Inteleon back to hand, play it down, and quick shooting for the game. Or I guess a Boss's Orders plus a Fighting Energy could do it as well. Just see an Octillery.
Yeah, I don't think there's a scoop up net left. It's an Octillery, see Avery in hand. That was from the prize.
Avery's devastating though, because then Parker just gets to discard the Manaphy.
Yeah, not what you want. We know there's the 2 energy on the bottom of Tord's deck.
You're right.
Is it Primate Wisdom time again, I guess?
The sequencing here is very important. Depending on what's left in your deck, you could want to draw the 3 cards and then the Primate Wisdom to dig for a 4th card. If you determine that you can't win by playing Avery, then you Primate Wisdom first.
Right.
Lots of hard decisions here.
Well, I guess this is the first decision: is can you win if you play Avery? Tord has decided, yes, I can. So let's do that.
Okay, Crobat down, and yeah, obviously the Manaphy.
Manaphy's gone.
Gonna go as well. Something we could see this turn is if Tord finds a Fighting Energy, which we just saw, we could see the Strafe switching into Medicham V, since that is the last thing that is able to take a hit.
Yeah, we saw the Sobble, Rapid Strike Energy and Fighting Energy were the draws there.
Yeah, this game just keeps getting deeper. So if Tord attaches the Fighting Energy and strafes into Medicham V, then next turn he could evolve to Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, attach the Rapid Strike to the Medicham, retreat, and Gale Thrust for the win.
Wow.
Just a master class here. Now this can all get thwarted if Parker simply draws Boss's Orders.
And it looks like he top decked it.
That's it.
Oh, wow. That Boss's Orders was a long time coming and had been in the deck for so many turns and had just not wanted to join the hand of Parker. And then at the last possible moment, the Boss's Orders just flips off the top of the deck and sends Tord Reklev to the 4-1 bracket.
Wow, what a game. Wow, if you're Tord, like, mentally, that's such a tough one to recover from. Like, he battled back so hard.
He did.
He got it back into a situation where, you know, he was probably favored that one turn and then got hit by a Crushing Hammer plus double Fan of Waves. 3 Crushing Hammers hit over the course of that game. Tord still found a way to put himself in a potentially winning position, and then finally